Hi there. So the people at Artistro, which is an American company, reached out to me to see if I would like to try some of their product. And they know that I mostly work in watercolor. So they sent this nice little package. You'll see on the back, it's a palette of 48 colors through deep yellows into reds and even into metallics and fluorescent colors. Now this is an American company, and I'm looking for where it's actually made, and I don't see that, but maybe it'll say that on the tin. So let's have a look inside. Now this is a nice little gift package. It comes with sheets of, I don't know if it's in a pad. Yes, it's in a pad. Sheets of watercolor paper. They're 140 pound, 10 sheets, 7x3 inch, and acid free. So we'll give that a try. And then inside, there's a cute little sticker. There we go. And there's a palette swatch sheet to fill out. So we'll be doing that. There's a nice little eraser, a sharpener. This appears to be a pencil and a brush. There. And then a water brush as well, which looks kind of interesting. It's one of those that you push on the side to get the water going. And there we go. So we'll try that one out too. And there's a little sponge in there to wipe off your brushes. So this is the range. In a way, you don't have to fill this out, but I like to have the colors filled out on watercolor paper or paper that you would normally use, just to get a better sense of what it looks like on the paper rather than what it looks like printed out. So here are the colors. Ta-da! And there's those fluorescents and metallics. Now let's see if I can work one of them out. I think they're pretty well stuck down there. It looks to be a little bit smaller than a half pan. Oops, almost got that one out. Yep. So here's a half pan from another company. And so these are quite small in comparison. They're smaller in height and definitely smaller in width. But these are marketed as student level colors. So it gives, amateurs or students a nice range of colors to use. Let's check out the website. So we're on the Artistro website, and you'll see the range of things that they have. They have paint pens, they have people uploading their finished works, they have instructional videos, and you can also subscribe to their newsletter. But let's go up and check out their paint range, specifically the watercolor. And there's our box right there. Click on that. So it's $29.99 US. And here's some more information about the colors themselves. They are pigment-based colors, not dye, except for the fluorescent and the metallic, which is common. They're non-toxic, and it says that they're light fast, but again, I don't have any tests to see to support that, or they're not ranked, which colors are less light fast and which are more. This is the same size set, but bigger footprint for the size of the tin. And again, say that highly pigmented, fade resistant, they dry fast, and no odor, which that's common for watercolors. And they have a whole range of different, as we saw, there was the paint pens, which are really becoming very popular, like the Posca pens. And then they have acrylics as well. There's our guy again. They have different surfaces for painting on that you can order, including wood bark and pebbles and canvases. So these products are more aimed at people who do journaling, any sort of craft based things. They are available through Amazon, and they have free shipping. So it is something that is quite easy to get, I believe anywhere. And you can also, they have free returns on all orders, and they seem to have good customer service. So I'm going to give these a swatch out on the paper provided, and I'm going to use probably the water brush, or maybe the smaller brush, because it is a small little squares. You'll have to wash that out in water because there's quite a bit of sizing on the brush. So I'll just go and get some nice clean water and give these a whirl. So the Chinese white here looks more like a titanium white. It's very creamy colored. We'll see how close. I'm keeping these here so you can see how close the plastic printout is in comparison. It's a little too much. Now they are re-wetting, that's very hard to say sometimes, really well. And this is a deep yellow. And this says it's flesh color. It's more of a light orange, muted orange. And then we have gamboge. They are pretty vibrant colors so far, but then I guess you expect that from some yellows and oranges. And this is officially orange. And here we have brilliant red beside that. Now you'll notice that the paper swatch sheet doesn't line up with the corresponding paints, which is what I usually prefer. The plastic one actually does, so you may want to keep that on hand. And then we have Scarlet. Oops. How did I mess that up? Nope, that's actually the vermilion just looks like it's going to be very dark. It's not. That's why you need to paint them out, because that looks almost like a rusted color. So here's the permanent red. I'll hold these up closer to the camera when I'm finished. And then we have orange red. So that's more of a rusty color. And then finally on that row, we have magenta. Bit more water for that. So moving on to the next row down, we have lake blue. It's a nice turquoise blue. And by the way, this brush isn't too bad. It's laying down the paint nicely. Cobalt blue. A little bit darker than that. So I see that less as a cobalt blue, more like a cerulean blue. And then going into what they call turquoise. This is a nice, really, really nice color. This kind of reminds me of, oh, I forget. I think it's a Schminke color. And then beside that is brilliant blue, which the pan looks almost like a purple, but it's more like a purpley ultramarine. And then ultramarine is right beside that. I think I actually prefer the brilliant blue. Now, phthalo blue. Oh, and that's a really nice phthalo blue. Again, I'm really impressed with the brightness of the colors. Quite nice. Here's deep blue. Just even more of a purpley blue. And beside that is violet. And beside that is mauve. And that's a really nice, it's almost like an ultramarine pink. I'm sure there's some white pigment in there. And here's cerise, which is very like a magenta in some other brands. And then purple. Right there. And last in this row is deep purple. And that's really nice. Deep purple. So now we're into the third row, and this is light green, which looks more like a blue. Bolster that up a little bit. It's more like a turquoise. So this one is leaf green, might be a bit too wet. That's a nice, bright, kind of appley green. Olive green, it's usually my favorite kind of green. If you've watched my channel, you know how much I love greens, and this is more like a, almost like a terre verte green, but mostly on the olive end of things. Now we have peak green. And this is a full-blown green, very bright. And then after that is Viridian, usually not one of my favorite greens, but it's good mixing green, so it's good to have it. And that looks like a very traditional Viridian green. And then we have brilliant green. And beside that is grass green. This is more of the sort of greener terre verte kind of green. I prefer these natural muted greens. And then a blackish green. Ooh, that's nice. That's almost like a perylene green, which is a mixture of black, or sometimes only a black pigment on the greenish end. And now going into the natural colors, you have a burnt sienna, and a burnt umber. It's nice warm umber, a raw umber, and what I always usually look for is a Van Dyke brown. Slightly cooler, slightly darker. Now on to colors that I don't normally use are the fluorescents. So let's see what these are like. Kind of exciting. Ooh, that's a really 80s kind of color coming back. That's the fluorescent yellow. Now we're doing fluorescent green. Now fluorescents tend to be, unless they're like very opaque, they tend to be more translucent, which makes sense. Sometimes manufacturers will put things in to make them more opaque because they're not natural pigments. Oops. But these ones are very translucent. And the fluorescent blue isn't really much different from some of the other blues there. This one just should stand out. This fluorescent orange, and it does not disappoint. It's like a highlighter. Now we have the metallics. Again, these can be very translucent in all sorts of manufacturer's range. You can just layer it up. That was the gold. And again, they're also in other ranges sometimes hard to get going. This one's not bad. This is metallic bronze. And we have copper. And last of the metallics is the silver, metallic silver. There we go. And then we head into gray. Appears to be a warmish gray. Just put a little bit more so that you can see that. Then brown ochre. And Payne's Gray is always my favorite. I always love when there's a Payne's Gray in a palette. It's just such a great color for mixing and shadows, and it's a hard worker type of paint. And then finally, black. I might just have a little too much too much water on that because it does say deep black. So let's do it some justice here. There's the swatch card all painted out and mostly dry. I'll just let you get a good look at the colors. And for the most part, this one is a good guide, especially if you want something that's lined up with the colors like I normally do. I like to know without like having to count rows and things like that, but that's good to have in there as well, and it fits, so why not? And yeah, this is a really cute little box. Let me just zoom out, and I think, you know, it would be really great for traveling, and even if it's just traveling in your own city, doing some urban sketching. But let's have a little test of both the paper and more of the paints and this fine looking water brush here, because I like this part. I know other companies have that. I think Derwent pens have that too. I don't happen to have one of their new ones like that, but I'm going to test that out and see how it goes. So here I'm just doing a little still life. I picked that because that's, you know, it's a common thing to paint, and it also, I wanted one with enough color to really showcase the colors that are in this palette. This isn't the paper, as you can see, that came with the set, but it is around the same sort of grade paper as provided by Artistro. This is the Canton Montval watercolor paper and spiral sketchbook. So it's quite similar to what was provided. And I'm using the brush that came with the set. But one drawback about this set is that it doesn't have anywhere for mixing within it. So I'm having to use my own little cheapy palette to the side here. And go the blueberries. This painting is based on an image from Pixabay, which has copyright-free images for you to draw and use. Now with watercolor, it's always a good idea to lay down a first wash, and that's what I've done with the blueberries and the strawberries here. And now I'm just adding in the midtones. Just adding a little bit of purple to get some of the darker tones in. Give these blueberries some form. And not forget their their tops. Just decided to change the color of the dish itself because it was also blue, so I wanted to add in a different color so you can see as much range as possible. And just adding the green at the top of the strawberries. Adding shadow to the bottom of the dish, and this was on a wooden table. Now I'm finding the browns here a little difficult to work with. They're staying a little bit too translucent and too flat. I don't really want to overwork it or have some issues with the paper. So I'm just going to keep this pretty light. Again, just trying to give more form, add in shadows. Foliage needs a little bit of work. Trying to still keep in the highlights. And then just adding some of the detail and texture for the strawberries. Again, this is just a fast demo. I just want to give you a sense of the range of the colors and how they work. Again, I'm not liking the table and the shadow there. It still seems a little bit too flat. And this is the paper that came with the package. There's QR code to look up more about it. It comes in loose sheets. So, and it's relatively thin, so it will buckle. Just keep that in mind. And now I'm just going to use the water brush that came with it and do a really, really quick sketch, not based on anything except a trip that I had And seeing as I can't really travel right now, that's all I have to go with is memories in my mind. So I'm thinking about a landscape in the Azores, some stone walls, lush greens, something that I would do quickly in my sketchbook. And I actually really like this brush. I like the control that you have with the water. It's a little bit fatter of a brush, so that's nice. Covers a little bit more ground. Just giving some more detail because the foreground would have more detail. And there you go. So here's my little sketchbook that I take around with me. It's a Stillman Burns sketchbook, and this little image is painted with the Artistro watercolors, and it's based on the photo I took during my walk down to Sugar Beach in Toronto with their lovely pink umbrellas that are there. So in general, this would be a lovely gift to either yourself or a family member. If I had kids, I would love to buy something like this for them and keep them out of my professional grade watercolors, as I know some people have said that happens to them. I did find the colors when I was doing that little still life a bit flat and a bit difficult to blend. It still makes an adequate painting, but if you wanted more definition, more mixing and blending of colors, I'm not sure that this would be the set for you. But otherwise, I'm pretty pleased with this, and I would like to thank Artistro for sending them to me. Thanks so much.